We have once again been blessed by the mighty Adam of Gontier with new music. Saint Asonia's recently released EP, Introvert, is of course what I'm referring to. And now for a brief intro before we continue. So it's finally time to review some more material from Saint Asonia. Introvert is an EP, so it's not a full-length album, which would have been nice, but that's not to say that what's on here isn't any good. Could this be a quality over quantity scenario? Well, just before we find out, I have to bring up the track list. Okay, so the track list for this is Above It All, Better Late Than Never, Chew Me Up, So What, Left Behind, Bite the Bullet, and Shining Lights. Now, I'm writing this review upon my first full listen of the EP, so my thoughts may be a bit scattered even in scripted form. Now, because there's only 7 songs on here, I'm going to go through and do a quick segment on each one, but just as an overall musing, I feel like this EP, while containing some pretty good content, feels a bit generic in places. I wouldn't say bad, but what's good on here just sometimes feels a little safe and what you'd expect from some of these titles. Let's just go through each song and shed a little more light on what I mean. So this song is your typical rise up and prosper type song. It sounds really cool and there's nothing inherently wrong with it. However, I do think that lyrically it is a bit predictable. For a song about the cliche of rising above everything else and prevailing, it has a lot of lyrics you'd typically expect in a song like this. It does a good job with them, don't get me wrong, but it's stuff that we've heard before. I quite like it though purely because it's an awesome sounding piece of music. Props to Adam and the band for making something that on paper should sound tried and tested, but actually doing a good job of it regardless. And here's a song with a bit more originality to it, in my opinion. I like the theme of this song and the overall sound. There's a certain rhythmic, funkiness to it, and I'd say it's a stronger song than Above It All. It just feels well thought out, and you can hear that signature Adam mixture of gritty lyrics and the melodic instrumentals from the other band members. The rest of the songs I've only just caught up to listening to since the first 2 were released ahead of time to promote the EP, so my thoughts on them haven't quite solidified as much as the previous 2, but I'll try my best to say what I think of them so far. That said, Chew Me Up is the next song on Introvert, and at the moment I don't think it's going to be one of my favourites. It's not bad per se, but there's just something missing, I think. I don't know what it is exactly, but this one just feels a bit like it's going through the motions to me. I never felt like it really got going, to be honest, especially compared to most other songs from this band. An okay track, but I wouldn't call it anything special. So What's another song I'd say is pretty decent, but I'll admit it didn't wow me at first. It has more energy than Chew Me Up, so I'd probably place it a bit higher. I think there's another case of a good song, but not exactly something we've not heard in another form before. Left Behind gave me much more heavy and aggressive vibes in both lyrics and instrumentals, and if you know me then you probably know that I like that sort of thing. I found myself quite liking this one actually, so it must be doing something right. I haven't got a good feel for the theme of the lyrics yet, but everything else on this track so far has made my brain happy. Extra points for doing that, I guess. This one's also a pretty good song, I'd say, not as good as the last one, and I do think that it's another of the more formulaic ones. I felt that there were some instrumental similarities between Bite the Bullet and Above It All, mainly during the chorus, but that might just be me. Really just another decent song that I feel kinda neutral on. And finally we have Blinding Lights, and yes, it is a cover of that one song that goes, "Ooh, I'm blinded by the light." I'm gonna add this song to a list of rock covers that somehow make interesting versions of songs that I previously didn't care less about. I don't have much to say about this one, to be honest. I never cared for the original, but this version sounds pretty damn amazing, I have to admit. Blinding Lights actually seems to translate over to the hard rock genre very well, and if anyone's going to pull it off, then it would be Saint Asonia. This one was a pleasant surprise for me, I think. So after a couple of listens now, I think I'm coming around to Introvert. I find it a little tricky to get into shorter song collections like EPs as opposed to full albums, and a couple of the songs on here didn't really do it for me all that much. I won't be too harsh on it though, as I did enjoy it for the most part. It could be me still comparing Saint Asonia's work to their masterpiece that is flawed design that's skewing my perspective on the rest of their work, but I think Introvert deserves a solid 4 books out of 5. Yeah, I've completely given up the scoring icons at this point, sorry. Also, sorry there wasn't a favourites section this time around. I usually do one in my album reviews, but I thought it was kind of redundant seeing as how there's only 7 songs on the EP. If I had to pick a singular song though, I think I'd probably say that Better Late Than Never was my top pick. So there you have it, my thoughts on Saint Asonia's EP, Introvert. What did you think of this EP? Comment below and leave a like if you enjoyed. I don't have any more music or album reviews planned for the foreseeable future, so until something new crops up, feel free to check out my other content. I'll be back in a week with another video, so until then, it's goodbye from me. Ciao!